Okay, folks, I think we're live. I know there's a little bit of a delay on the broadcast here, but let me know in chat as soon as you can um, that we are live and running here. I apologize for the technical difficulties. It looks like the website briefly went down right as we were trying to push live, but we're back. So welcome to Top Trades. A little bit of a late start. I'm here with Chris Cimorelli, Mr. 10X himself. Chris, how's it going?
Sporting my Paradigm 10X t-shirt.
I don't. Hey,
Uh,
wait a second. Why don't I have one of those? Why wasn't I given this the T-shirt?
that's because it was clearly an oversight. Are you a large or a medium?
A large.
You're a large. Honestly, I'm a large these days as well. The mediums aren't fitting me anymore. Sorry, we slight oversight, but I'm doing great. Market's doing great. I'm making tons of money. We just launched 10X Trade Club last week, and that's been a lot of fun. So excited to talk to your subscribers again today, Greg.
Oh yes. Okay. It looks like we are live. Again, sorry folks for that little hiccup there in tech. We're gonna get it all sorted out for you. But yeah, like Chris was saying, this market is spicy right now. We got a lot of stuff moving, and it's not just your Teslas and Nvidias, although we are seeing, a lot of news come out of those mega cap techs these days, Nvidia with the open AI. I don't know if that I don't know if long term that's a great thing or not, but it popped the stock a little bit yesterday, shuffling all the money around for the data centers. But it's all about AI, it's all about tech, it's all about the spec tech now. We're seeing these big candles pop up in a lot of the old spec tech trades, the big stuff, or the stuff that got really big post-election last year, the stuff that was running even during 2021. All of it's starting to froth up back to the surface here, and it's really starting to move. And it feels like everywhere you look in those tech baskets, there's something popping off almost every day. And so, Chris, I bet you're just feasting on this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point now where it's like what to buy. It's not finding stuff to buy. It's like picking and choosing the best trades. So this is my absolutely favorite kind of environment. Like me personally, it's just like for subscribers, I'm recommending a new trade every single day right now. Today we just recommended two new trades just because I'm like I can't choose. There's too many good opportunities, and we just need to get a bunch of ideas on the board, knowing that one or two of those ideas could just absolutely rip. And I know you're seeing really good results right now. I mean, but me personally, like in my own account, I'm putting on like 5 trades a day. So I'm just like, I
Yeah.
need a little bit of exposure to here and there, and all you need is a few big winners.
No, I hear you. And I mean, I think even though everything's popping off, I think sometimes this type of environment can be frustrating for traders because, like you said, it's trying to determine what you should buy when it feels like everything is ripping and you get that FOMO. And we talked about this a little bit in our chat over at the trading desk this morning about how, yes, we're in a frothy market. Yes, the speculative tech names are screaming higher. But the main thing that I like to impress on people is that, look, you can't catch them all. It's not
Yeah.
Pokemon, right? You can't grab every single hot trade. We have a limited amount of capital. We want to try to be in the biggest movers, but we also want to try to trade smart. And that means not grabbing some of the most overextended stocks. I know that it feels like they can run forever, but it feels like a lot of these are starting to get to the point where they're getting a little bit tired. And if we're lucky and the market stays hot, that just means we're going to rotate into the next theme or the next basket. If things really start to slow down, then we're going to see people start pulling money off the table and we're going to see some sharper drops. I don't think it's going to affect things longer term. I think no matter what, just because of the environment that we're in and because of the performance we've had so far this year, we're going to see an additional melt up into Q4 into the holidays. I just think it feels almost inevitable at this point, barring
Yeah.
some sort of like big negative headline or something bad happening. It feels like we're going to keep rolling, but it is entirely possible that we get those resets and gut checks along the way because that's the market's job is to keep us honest.
And I mean that's what sustains the move up for
Yes.
longer than otherwise just going vertical. Greg, there's one stock that I recommend in Microcap Millionaire, INOD, Innodata. Look at this thing. 14 up days in a row.
I know, it's
And this is hitting
insane.
new all-time highs today. We're up, I think, like 300% on that stock since we got into it last July. But I'm seeing crazy things like this. And then I know a bunch of people are bugging me about Plug.
Right, yeah. Another crazy
Yeah,
one,
which
right?
is just gone basically doubled in the last week. People are like, should I buy? Should I buy? I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't chase it.
It's really tough. It is. It's really tough to buy these, but like I'm glad you brought up the stock. It's not one I'm super familiar with, but you can see down here in the bottom panel, the RSI, how overbought we are.
Oh my God.
Which
Yeah.
again, overbought means there's a ton of buyers. That doesn't mean that like, a crash is inevitable, but like look what happened back here when it got just as severely overbought following this
Yeah.
massive earnings reaction right here. So it didn't crash afterward.
Right.
It got incredibly volatile. And so
Yeah.
and so what happens after these big moves is folks that are chasing like, oh, if it just does this for another day, then I'll double whatever. And they get stuck. And so you got these choppy moves and like look at this one right here where you obviously had some buyers thinking it was going to go
Yeah.
there on December 9th, and it ran all the way up to 55, and then by the end of the day it closed $10 below that mark. I mean, these are some wild moves right here. It got going again and then reset, but I think ideally, and this is a selfish statement, I would love to see some resets heading into October, just like you said, to set us up for those melt up moves, because that's what you need. You need these levels to trade against. It's really, really difficult from a risk reward perspective to say like I want to buy INOD at $76 right here and not expect it to at least come down to the 60s at some point
Yeah.
and reset, and it could reset very violently is the
Right. And what I've been doing personally, like I have some long-term stock positions. I have, of course, my options positions. Most of my options gains from the last, I would say, month, really, I'm letting it sit in cash right now. Like I've built up a very large cash position now, because I'm like, I don't want to put everything in at highs. I want to wait for that pullback. I want to wait and see that pullback kind of like settle and then load up on the next move, which is something I'd recommend everyone doing. I'm still buying a little bit
yeah.
every day, but like small percentages of my cash position right now, just because like, and I've never been actually in a real sweet spot like this where like, oh, like portfolios at all-time highs, cash positions also at all-time highs.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
and I'm sure a lot of people, I know a lot of people are there right now. A lot of people, their portfolios are at all-time highs along with the broader market, especially if they've caught this move, which has only been accelerating in the last month with these rate cuts.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting too. And this, I'm going to go back to a conversation we were having either yesterday or earlier this morning, Chris. The euphoria really isn't out there right now, which is super
Yes.
interesting with the big move right here. I think that's really important. That's an important point you were making to me.
Yeah. Can you pull up the CNN Fear and Greed Index?
I don't know. Let me see if I
No.
can, do you have it? Let me see if I don't know if I have it saved down here. CNN Fear and
Well,
Greed.
just type it into Google. Yeah, it
Uh,
pops right up.
Oh, wait, I have to agree to the privacy policy on Fear Grid. Oh, and I unshared my screen. Sorry about that. Um, let me uh let me hop back on there. There we go. So yeah, we're in
Yeah. So
greed, but like 63.
yes.
I mean, this is not.
And go to the timeline tab.
Oh, down here.
No, no, go
This
up.
one. Which one do you want me to go
Um,
to?
go up higher. Where it says timeline, kind of in the center of the screen, off
Oh,
to the
yeah,
right
yeah, yeah.
slightly. Yeah, 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 yeah. So this
Oh, there we
gives you
go.
like the 1 year look at
Yeah.
where it is. And you can see like when it hits 75, that's extreme greed. We've seen pullbacks there. We saw it in what was that, October of last year. And then
Yeah.
again in July, it tapped it. But we haven't even gotten there yet. And I also have a hunch that it's going to go pretty well into extreme greed
Oh, yeah.
before we see like a really significant pullback. Um, but it's like when it does hit extreme greed, that's when I'll probably take even more chips off the table, just because historically that's been a very reliable sell signal, at least in the short term.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting pop-up ads on it now. I closed it out.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like no, I totally hear you with that. And not only, not even looking at fear and greed, just market feel. It doesn't feel like people are like getting too crazy. Yeah, there's like some froth um amongst like the stock trader groups. Like if you go to
Yeah.
like Wall Street Bets, or if you like pop around on finance Twitter or like stock twits, you can see the groups of people that are like in the trenches, like, like getting excited about the gains that they're making. And I get that, but it doesn't feel like this has spilled over into the mainstream like it was over COVID, where things were
Most
just
people
totally
are
crazy.
not talking about it. It's exactly
Yeah.
right. And I mean, Greg, maybe you should pull up IWM
Yeah.
and just pull up the 5-year chart on IWM. I mean, this tells you everything you need to know about why I think like I don't know. Feel free to disagree with me, Greg. I think we could be in the beginning of a very long-term uptrend in IWM because it I don't even know if it really hit a new all-time high last November/December. It like touched the 21 all-time high, but now it's broken out of it. And so
Yeah.
basically this is hitting new all-time highs for the first time in 4 years. And obviously it crushed it in 2020, 2021, huge surge there, but no new all-time highs in 4 years, finally breaking through those all-time highs. This is where the money's going now. Like I'm not seeing huge moves in SPY, I'm not seeing huge moves in the Nasdaq. I'm seeing huge moves in the underperformers like IWM and XBI,
Yeah.
biotech, because that stuff's been held back for so long. And, at some point, yeah, people probably do actually sell out of some of the big names, which cause the small names to fall as well. But it's probably going to be a matter of rotating into other sectors of the market. So, which is why I'm not as bullish on tech as I was, say, 3 months ago. I'm more bullish on like alternative energy and healthcare and genomics and things like that that have been largely held back so far. I think that's where the money's rotating now.
I mean, it's been so long since we've seen small caps outperform over a meaningful time frame, and we're
Yeah,
finally starting to see it happen. I mean, even going back, this is a weekly chart because you wanted me to pull up a longer term one, but going back even farther, if it'll let me load it. I mean, like, it peaked in 2018 and then didn't get over those highs until 2020, until like, COVID really started ramping up into 2021, into that peak right there. But
yeah,
I mean, it's even worse if you go to like XBI, the biotechs, which have been essentially, aside from a little bit of froth during the COVID trading bubble, these things have been stuck in the mud for years. I mean, we're
yeah,
just we're just barely above the peak from August 2015 on some of these. No one has wanted these stocks. No one. And now they're finally starting to perk up right here. And like you said, like I think it has a lot to do with like the rate cut rotation trade. I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that like we're seeing a bigger shift in the market right now where the mega cap tech stocks have gotten huge and they've absolutely dominated. And
yeah.
we're finally seeing, some people pushing down to the smaller stocks. And if this sustains, this could be not just a multi-month move, but this could be a big like trading boom. And I'm watching it super closely.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if like by this time next year, XBI is 2x, if the whole sector has doubled and even hits new all-time highs.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
because
remember that.
I still don't see people talking about this, about like why has biotech underperformed so much? And it's because of higher rates. These are weird businesses that don't make money. We need companies to develop drugs and treatments, but someone has to fund it. And with higher rates, when money is more expensive, it's very, very, very hard to fund these. So it's to the point now where it's just like we've had higher rates for so long now. Biotech's been down for so long. No one's talking about it.
No,
And no one's going to really start talking about it until it's had like a weird vertical candle.
that's right.
Because it's just been kind of like grinding higher since April, and now it's starting to outperform. It's kind of keeping track with IWM at the moment, but it's going to massively outperform IWM, which is going to massively outperform SPY in the Nasdaq.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I really like what you said about we're not going to hear about it until we see those big candles start rolling in, because it's completely off folks' radar. And this is how big market themes develop. Just think about artificial intelligence. AI is nothing new. It's been around for a long time. People have been developing it for a long time, but it took a catalyzing moment when ChatGPT came on the market for it to awaken investors' imagination about the possibilities of this thing. And I don't know what the narrative is going to be around biotech. I'm not a biotech expert. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. However, if I was a betting man, which I am, I would say that if biotech doubles, like you say it could, then there are going to we're going to begin to see some sort of theme emerge amongst the biotechs, and it's going to be like an AI-ish type theme that kind of grabs the market. And this is the new thing. Whatever something's going to be in development, I don't know if it's going to be a certain type of treatment or a certain type of drug or a new chemical, something along those lines. And they're going to start running with that narrative, and it's going to become a big deal over 6 months, a year in the market. We're going to start seeing cover stories on The Economist about it, about this new biotech boom, and people are going to start playing the biotech lotto plays again. But that's how things develop. The price action moves first. People start thinking, oh, maybe these aren't horrible investments after all. And then you start to see the narrative build and people push into it. Exactly like what happened in AI, it'll just be a different sector.
Yeah.
So what else are you looking at these days? I mean, I know that you like a lot of these tech growth groups. Over at the trading desk, we just got into Unusual Machines, which, by the way, is a great name. I'm okay
It
with
is
the
a great
ticker, the
name.
UMAC, but like it's a great name for a drone company, and it feels like again we're just rotated into these different groups. We got into this yesterday. This was not an easy buy for us, and I think that goes along the lines of the stuff we were talking about earlier, where on Friday it was up almost 18%,
Yeah.
and I saw it start to move above these swing highs in July on Monday morning, and I was like, well, if stuff like this is moving, I'm going to give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
not the easiest buy in the world, but again, I'm trying to buy it at a level where I think it can continue to extend right here, and we'll see how it develops. But how do you approach like something like this? Is this like something fundamentally you like, or are you just playing the price
I,
action like I am?
I own some UMAC.
Oh, okay,
I
fair
own I
enough.
own and I think I bought this back in like April or May. I own like a thousand shares of it. So actually I have a pretty decent position in it. And I'm up 50% so far. But the whole drone space is up today. Red Cat is hitting new highs today. At least post April, post crash.
Yeah,
Or maybe I'm okay, maybe not quite.
it looks good though. It looks really
Yeah, yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. But like that's setting up. And I mean, I think I said this the last time I was on Top Trades, where I just said like buy a little bit of every single drone stock, RCAT, UMAC, AVAV, AeroVironments, Joby, JOBY, just because they're all small companies. Um, and people still don't understand exactly how much we need to invest to really build up our drone arsenal because, not that we're in danger of going into a hot war with China, but you know how you avoid a hot war is by making sure that you're leaps and bounds above your opponent. And right now, China is leaps and bounds above the US in terms of their drone arsenal and I think even their drone technology. There's a few areas where China's ahead of us, and that's a big theme for me is making sure that you're in the American alternatives of those
Right,
things like factory automation, drone technology, alternative energy because China's really building up their solar stack and their nuclear stack. Um, so, I mean, that to me, especially with a guy like Trump in the White House, because he saw how far ahead, China sprinted ahead of us in the 4 years he was out of office, and Trump being, an egotistical guy,
good.
he's like, no, we're gonna catch up to China. It's our turn. So you just know money's, but it's also just a matter. It's a national security issue as well.
Sure,
Where
yeah,
like we have to pump billions of dollars into these sectors, which is why I really really recommend just having like a broad like diversified portfolio of AI drone technology, of AI factory automation, of AI agent software technology, of nuclear and solar and all of these things where we have to catch up to China.
right.
Because we beat them in a lot of ways, but they beat us in those areas.
Yeah. I'm not a huge diversification guy, but I think in this market, I like that idea, especially with the smaller stocks, because what you're describing is almost like a venture cap strategy where you're like, I know there's going to be like multi-bagger winners in these groups.
Yeah.
So you take that thesis and then you say, okay, if I spread out a small amount across the sector, that I'm guaranteed to catch some of these winners, and I'm going to get sympathy players as well that move higher. And in this environment, that's kind of a can't lose almost,
Yeah.
if
Absolutely.
you're playing your cards right. So I do like that. I do like that idea right there. I mean, and you're really in tune with a lot of these tickers that I'm not aware of too. What was the other one? You said I know that there's Red Cat and I know
AVAV.
AVAV. That's the one. I'm not really
That's the big one.
That's the
I
big
think
one.
that's
Okay.
the largest of them. What's its market cap?
Let's see.
It's
It
down there
is
somewhere.
14 bills.
Yeah, that's the big one. And it's funny actually. I think Altitur's Investment Network recommended that back in like 2017, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
basically hitting 1,000% on
Yeah.
that now.
And the
So, but I
chart
mean,
looks
this is
and the chart looks amazing. It might need to rest here. It's bumping up against these highs from June, but
yeah,
I mean it's recovered all of its losses and then some from the tariff scare in April.
yeah. I mean, God, that's almost a triple. I mean, it's
Yeah,
insane. But it's to that point. It's an anti-China trade, which also fits into the trade narrative.
right.
But it's also just, this is the way the military is going. This is the art of war now. It's
Yeah,
it's it's
yeah.
drones.
And it feels like we're getting a lot of positive drone headlines. Like
Yeah,
at least a couple times a month, something comes out of the Pentagon or about drones, and it's really helping juice a lot of these stocks. So the whole sector's moving. So why not, right?
yeah. And it's funny. I think AVAV is maybe the one stock, the biggest, most important one that I don't own, just because I'm personally am a risk taker and I like buying the smaller things, which isn't always the best strategy, by the way. Sometimes the market leader stays the market leader.
Sure.
So I should probably consider. I don't know. I hate buying stuff at all-time highs, though, Greg. I just don't like doing it.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I look at it from a time frames perspective. Like if you're planning on holding a position, buying at all-time highs is fine. I
Yeah,
mean, if you're willing to, if you're willing to be like a little bit more liberal with your stops and like realize that it might reset, buying at all-time highs is fine. But if you're trying to be more strategic, especially if you're trying to be short-term strategic, then you're gonna want to see it coming out of some sort of a base and have some sort of level to trade against is how I like to look at it. So if I'm going to be wrong, which I'm going to be wrong on some of my trades, that's how it goes. That's the price of admission when you're trading. I want to know that I'm wrong quicker. And if you're buying at all-time highs and it's just up in the stratosphere, like take for example, let's just use Plug. I'm not trying to pick on Plug. I mean, I know I joke about this stock a lot, but I mean, this is a ripper that it's on right here. But
yeah.
I think, in this type of market, it's entirely possible that Plug runs to $6.
I
I
think it's
don't
going to run at $10
I don't
personally.
think it's
I don't know
probable,
what.
but I think it's
I don't know
possible.
when,
Right,
but
but that's
I
just it. We
think
don't know when. And
yeah,
if we're short-term trading, then if I buy it here and I get whipsawed, like if I buy it at like 285 and then all of a sudden it's at 177,
yeah,
it's really not broken. It could still
yeah.
run to that $10, but I'm in a big time hole with a trade
That's like
because I'm
like
reaching,
the strategy I would use on Plug right now is I would buy half a position in the stock. I wouldn't buy any options on it. I'd buy half position in the stocks, or if it does come down, I'd buy another half position, make it a whole position. Or if
Yeah.
it keeps running, it's just like, okay, I got my half position, I got some exposure to it. But it's like this is not a stock I would trade options on right now just because it's gone vertical.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I totally get it. Yeah, and I like that too. I mean, like if you're going to be buying calls on something like this, I mean, you're going to be paying a huge premium, when
Yeah,
it's going straight up like this because the volatility is ratcheted up. Okay.
right.
And you want that implied volatility to be a little bit lower so that you're paying a better price, so that when it does ramp up again, you get those gains that you're searching for. Because you could be in a situation if you're reaching for a stock like this, you're buying calls where the stock moves up and the option starts moving against you,
Yeah.
if it really starts slowing down. And that's a terrible feeling. Being right and losing money is not a good feeling, right? So That's what I caution people on things like this. But I do like the idea of like grabbing some shares, put them in your back pocket if that's what you're thinking about and you think this thing is going to $10 or whatever. I don't hate that at all. But for right now, like just very short term looking at it, a candle like this coming after what, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. This will be the ninth day up in a row, and it's fading from those highs. Looks a little tired. And this is a good time to maybe watch for how it resets because it could reset in a bunch of different ways. If it's
Yeah,
going to remain strong, you could get a lot of small, tight doji candles uh,
right.
along here. It could pull back hard and then sort of mill around, maybe down to this swing high from July. It could move all the way down to like $2 and just sort of hang out for a bit and percolate.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that either. And then you can look for, a big fat green candle is confirmation that like, okay, this is round two. Here it goes, and that's a good time to maybe like leg into some calls or buy some shares, and really thinking tactically about how to set up a trade like that.
Yeah, but I also think the better move is to we're in what I think we can call the a shit stock squeeze, and
It's fair.
I think we should prioritize looking for the other shit stocks that haven't moved like this yet, because that's where the market is. That's what the market is thinking right now. Is
Yeah,
what is the next shit stock? Because there's all of these stocks that haven't gone up yet, and this is what we're doing in 10x Trade Club is like looking for these really, really just like dog shit companies because this is where sentiment is turning. Like you
right.
kind of want to buy right now, at least the worst stocks you can imagine. And by bad stocks, I mean companies with horrible fundamentals, with lots of debt, because they can refinance that debt at lower rates in the coming months. And so that creates the catalyst that people are like, I want to get into this stock before the next guy goes in. Not because I think this is going to be a profitable business.
Right.
Maybe it will be someday. I just want to get ahead of the next guy.
Yeah, yeah, no, I hear you, and I think you're dead on because that's how these speculative rallies evolve. Is you get the well-known names that start moving higher. Well, first of all, the main ingredient is the market's not going down, and so everybody feels really nice and comfortable, and then your well-known speculative stuff starts moving, and then people start, like you said, they start looking for what's that next thing going to be, and that hot money rotates, and it goes down to these different groups and then the music stops eventually, or they just put on another record. I don't know, but we'll see how all that unfolds. But yeah, I mean that's a great way to think about it, and just knowing your market environment, knowing that the trash is rolling, the dumpster dives, like I call them, like plug. I've always kind of joked about plug, like, oh, if plug is moving, you're in a crazy market, and that's
Right.
definitely where we are right now.
Yeah. I mean, this reminds me a lot of we're almost in October of 2020, or sorry, October of 2025. And I remember October of 2020 is when I really, really leaned into that melt up we were seeing,
Yeah,
which went into, for a number of sectors, into February, and for other sectors, it went into June, and into others, it even went into the following November. So I think we're kind of maybe in a repeat of that. And I mean, I, and it's like we have to like watch how this plays out day by day, week by week, month by month. This could be 3 months. This could be 6 months. It could even be 12 months.
yeah,
I cannot tell you if it's going to go longer than that without a meaningful correction, because it looks like, indices like the Nasdaq, I mean, it's going to post its third 20% year in a row.
yeah,
And I would need to look at historically how many times that happens without a meaningful dip. I would think it's probably very, very, very few.
yeah,
So, at some point there has to be a meaningful pullback.
yeah,
But at the same time, we had a massive meaningful pullback in April.
yeah,
And, the last time this happened was March 2020. And then that basically ran into November of 2021, more than a year and a half later. So it could be a similar setup there, because what's happening? We're getting another rate cut in October. There's a 70+% chance we get another one in December. By June of next year, the market is forecasting rates down an additional 1% from where they are now. May of next year, Jerome Powell gets the boot, and Trump puts in someone who's going to aggressively cut rates.
Yeah.
Trump wants to get rates down to 1%. July of next year is America's not centennial. Is it centennial? Is that the word for 1,000 years? Whatever it is.
Years.
It's the 250th year, and I think there's probably going to be some excitement and euphoria around that. I just think it's going to be good vibes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why I'm like, there's a lot of things happening between now and like July of next year that could keep pumping this thing up.
Yeah.
So, I have a lot of stocks that I bought in April, in May of this year, where I'm like, I might start. I'm kind of in like. I hope this goes until April so I can start selling some of those things
Yeah.
at the normal cap gains rate. Because I'm
Right.
like, I don't want to sell anything now because I'm like, I'd have to give 40% to the government. Like,
Right. No, I hear you. Well, here we go. I have a scenario for you when you're talking about pullbacks here. So I'm not saying this is a prediction, but the market can correct many different ways. And with the action that we're seeing now in some of the smaller stocks, and if this, like, let's say the rate cut rotation theme continues into 2026, I think it's entirely possible that we get a flat to corrective move in the Nasdaq and the S&P, and yet we still get a lot of good trading action in the smaller stocks
yeah,
because you're seeing a bigger rotation, because these rotations can take a lot of time too. It's not just an instantaneous, okay, all the money just magically goes from here to here. I
right.
mean, we could be in a situation where the mega cap tech names are flattish to down, and yet we're still getting rippers throughout a lot of the smaller sectors. I mean, that would be ideal, obviously, for
Yeah.
you and for me. Um, but I do see that as a possibility, as a
And
way for the market to bleed off, or to appear to bleed off some of that enthusiasm, while under the surface we still have a lot of stuff that's moving that's not reflected in the averages.
yeah. And I think it's once the mainstream really starts talking about how like large caps are dead, small caps is where it's at now. Like that's when you start to worry, like when we start
Right.
seeing like headlines like that.
Yeah.
But right now, I think we're just in the early phase of a pretty major outperformance in small caps. Which I mean, even if there were a broader market crash, I think that this is an outperformance cycle that will probably last for many years. And you can think about that even in terms of like 2000 to like 2012, which was the last time that small caps outperformed large caps. Now that was an extremely volatile period marked by two 50% downturns in the S&P 500.
Mhm.
Small caps outperformed in that cycle, which is to say that they lost less money, and actually posted a pretty decent gain during that period. But those became more defensive stocks simply by virtue of the fact that they hadn't gone up as much. Uh, and I'd have to look at what the rates cycle was, during that period as well. Obviously, rates come down during periods of economic, anxiety, which also pumps up the smaller names. But so it's like whichever way you look at it, like you gotta be in some of this small and micro cap exposure right now. And like our micro cap service, I mean, of course we're at all-time highs because so is IWM.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a great stock pickers market because I mean I think that portfolio I was looking at it yesterday and it's like I'd have to calculate the weird like annualized returns and all that stuff. But if I just like look at the average position, regardless of when it was recommended, it's like 5x the performance of IWM.
Yeah.
So like that's where like if you're strategic about like if you understand which sectors money is flowing into and you just like stick to buying like one or two of the best stocks in those sectors that went astronomical in 2020 2021 and like the market kind of understands those are the leaders, like that's the strategy right now. Get some exposure to those smaller names.
Yeah. Speaking of smaller names, maybe they're not so small anymore, but the crypto miners are waking up. And I
Yes,
think
they are.
that's super interesting. And I'll pull up, like, I mean, Mara was running earlier today. Let's see if it's still running. Yeah, it kind of is. But what's interesting to me about the action that we're seeing in these poor old crypto miners this week is the fact that, I mean, Bitcoin and Ethereum reset pretty hard yesterday. We had a little bit of a liquidity event. Um, and the crypto miners went red in the morning, and then they climbed out of it and they went green. And lately, the miners have been leading the coins. So to me, unless something has dramatically changed, this says that, hey, that dip in Bitcoin and Ethereum is very viable right now, heading into the end of the year. And I feel like Mara and some of the other crypto miners are telegraphing that to us because
Yeah.
if you look at the Bitcoin chart right here, I know it doesn't look like much, but I mean this was the biggest down day
Mm.
since August when it rolled over and it was down like 2.25%, and dipping below the 100-day moving average. Not a huge deal right there, but look at what preceded this move right here. You had kind of the same situation where Bitcoin had flattened out and it was kind of bouncing around, range bound. It had dropped from about 113K all the way down to 100, and then you had a little fake out below the round number there, below
Yeah.
100K, and that set up a nice 20% move, which I mean doesn't look like anything on this chart since Bitcoin's been, in a strong uptrend all year, but it set up a nice 20% move that took place between what, late June and mid-July. So just a 3 week, less than 3 week, 20% move in Bitcoin. And now we're kind of seeing a similar situation of a rollover and then a pause here. It would be very interesting to me if we started to see crypto catch in this area and start rolling higher. That's what I kind of have my eye on heading into the end of this week. If we really do see it kind of dip and rip on us, because I feel like that's crypto's MO. It tends to do that. It tends to shake people out. You get these little liquidity events, and they end up to be really good buying opportunities. And the same thing with Ethereum. Ethereum had a bigger drop. It was down, what? It was down as much as like 7-8%. It ended the day. Well, not that it ever stops, but it ended the day down like 5. And it's kind of holding its ground right here at the lower bounds of its range below its 50-day moving average. Just kind of a little reset right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
It-
we've
it-
talked about this, but it feels like I still think Ethereum is going to be the big Q4 winner. Um,
yeah. And something that I think people need to understand about this market is corrections in crypto start with a big fat red candle and end with a big fat red candle. Like it's usually that last big fat red candle when you need to buy, and that's
yeah.
when it's hardest to buy because this is a sector, and I'm guilty of this too, where it's like when it's volatile, I'm like, oh my God, crypto, it's fake money, it's all electronic, it's not
Right.
real. What am I
Yeah.
thinking? I should sell everything, and then that's usually the moment to buy. And it's something you have to train your brain to be able to do to like lean into those moments. But that's I think what we're seeing now, where like I I added to my ETHT position yesterday, and that's the 2x, one of the 2x Ethereum ETFs.
Yeah.
And I did extremely well. I bought that in April or May, and I sold that for a massive gain a month or two ago. But now I'm moving back into it because it's dipped a little, and
Right.
I'm just like I think Ethereum. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it hits 7 or 8,000 before the end of the year. I know it doesn't have the momentum right now, but I think with rate cut season, and I agree with you on Mara, the miners are forecasting a huge move because they've underperformed so much. And maybe pull up CleanSpark, or CLSK.
Yeah.
I mean, that one, I think that's like the second largest one behind Mara. And you can see that one's already done blitz mode, which is why I think Mara is about to chase it because
Yeah.
Mara is the bigger player, actually. So this is a case where like a smaller player has led the way. But just look at the 5 year chart on this, maybe.
This has a 5-year chart. It's that old?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this one
Look
was
at that.
around back in the 2020, 2021 days. So yeah, you just zoom out and you realize how much this stuff has underperformed. This is one of those weird charts where it's like it's parabolic or whatever
Oh,
it's called.
yeah, I have it's on log. You don't
Log,
like
yeah,
log charts?
logarithmic.
But like, look, I mean, like, look at, I mean, like, I know this isn't like, but like, it feels like
Yeah,
we're coming to some sort of resolution from, a very big range right there. Like, and patterns like this are, I mean, this is take it with a grain of salt. I'm just trying to illustrate that we're going from this wide range and it's narrowing and it's starting to
yeah.
firm. So
But these stocks all shot up in 2023. That was a great
Yeah.
year for them. And then they underperformed in 2024, and they've underperformed until now. So we've gone almost 2 years in a macro crypto bull cycle where the miners have underperformed. And I mean, I would just think about this like honestly, like the gold miners. Like look up B, ticker B.
B. Barrick.
Yeah, that's Barrick Gold.
You
Look at this freaking thing. I mean, so many of the other analysts at Paradigm were just like, we almost got like sick of it because every week it'd be like, just buy gold miners, buy it, just buy them. They're just so boring, and they weren't doing anything for months and years, and they're like, just buy the gold miners. And now they look like freaking geniuses because this freaking thing has doubled in the last like 6 months. And this is just like an inevitable trade. But obviously there's a difference between Bitcoin mining and gold mining, but I think sentiment wise, it works the same way is people go into the thing they're mining first. And then phase two is they go into the stuff that's actually pulling it out of the ground or pulling it out of the ether in the case of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I think this is what's about to happen to Mara, where I think like Mara, it's like what, 18, $19 now. Sometime next year, it's going to be $50. I
Yeah.
don't know when, but sometime next year, that stock is going to be $50. It's my prediction. I can't predict the future. Risk and no
Here's
trading,
here's
all the
here's
disclaimers. But like that's, I think Mara is going to do what Barrick's done for gold. I think Mara's about to do for Bitcoin.
well, it's I think this is a really good point you made, and I know they're very different industries, but it's the same idea, and it's the same animal spirits and market mechanics at
Yes.
work with these stocks. And you're making a really great point here, because if we go back to a couple years ago when gold was first breaking, what, 2000, like for real, where were the miners? Flat to down. Okay. They've been flat to down forever, literally forever in the investing world, a generation. you know, like they hadn't been running since the aughts into 2011, the 2011 peak in precious metals, and they had gone nowhere but down or sideways. Okay. And then finally, we're getting to the point where people are rotating into them because gold and silver don't go down anymore. They just go up. Right. And so I think we're seeing potentially a similar thing across other sectors where you have these left for dead groups, absolutely left for dead. There's no institutional money in them. There's nobody that wants them, and they're starting to turn higher. Eventually, you're going to get the parabola. You're going to get the hockey stick on assets like that. I feel like it's only a matter of time. And it's interesting too, where you look at where the narrative has gone with the crypto miners. They were the hot new thing over COVID, and they were great traders. Like Mara was a great trader in late 2020. I traded it a billion times. It was fun because it just went up. And then it got to the point where everybody was like, it's too expensive for them to mine now, and they're not gonna be able to do it. Or like, oh, when Bitcoin topped out, everybody's like, we don't want these, get them out of here. Too energy intensive, energy costs are too high, whatever else it was. And then there was a little bit of a pivot to like, well, maybe they can sell their space to AI to see if that works out. And that was kind of a I don't know, a pie in the sky idea there for a while. But I don't think people are bullish on them anymore. I think the narrative is totally flipped. I don't think anybody's going around saying like Mara is going to make $1 gazillion mining Bitcoin. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the narrative flip back to bullish on these just yet. I think people are thinking they're junk.
No, I haven't either. And but maybe look up BitF.
Yeah, I tried to trade that one and messed it up. Thanks for bringing that one up.
It just kind of left us.
Yeah.
I mean that's basically a triple in a month. Basically from the start of September, it just went vertical. So, but this is why the sentiment is starting to turn. It hasn't turned fully, and it won't until Mara has doubled from where it is now.
Yeah.
Because again, that being the big player, being the largest Bitcoin miner in the world, that is when you'll see people really start talking about it, and then that will push it a little bit higher from there. But I mean, to me, just the obvious trade right now is just Mara, and we recommended calls on it in 10x. But that's a stock where like, hey, if those calls expire worthless, that's one where I'd be like, all right, let's go a month out again. we're going to do
Yeah.
this 2 or 3 times until we hit it because we're going to hit a huge one with this guy.
Yeah, it feels like it. And it's like you said, like I attempted to play this little breakout right here, and I got juked out of it, and I ended up like just cutting my losses. And then of course, like like a few weeks later, it just goes parabolic, and it's very it can be very tough with some of these. You know, sometimes there's just a spark, and these things just roll. But I like the idea of like just keep taking stabs at it, you know,
Yeah.
because you're going to get those vertical moves in these stocks, and it also feels like they tend to like trade places every day. Like one day it's riot day and people are pushing that one up and everything else is flat or maybe down a little bit. And then the next day it's CLSK or it's Wolf. We have calls on Wolf right now. Wolf with a U.
Nice.
Um and today is not its day. I haven't checked it since we've been on the call, but like yeah, so it's got kind of flattish, but like it's been very orderly.
Yeah,
So
good chart.
hopefully we'll get one of these biggies
Yeah.
on this one eventually. But yeah, like it feels like every day, like you get closer to like, okay, who's going to be the one that really starts popping?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be on news either. It can just go.
Yeah.
So,
That's a really good point. I mean, it's just and I mean Mara had a huge day on Friday, I think it was. It was like a 10% move that day. So it is already starting. And the thing with Mara is like they have a Bitcoin treasury strategy. They mine Bitcoin and they've moved into high performance computing. So, they've got three things working for them, or any one of those three things could create a bullish move. Um, I think they have one of the largest Bitcoin treasuries. They
I think
might be
like
right
second or third,
behind
right? They're up there.
MicroStrategy, actually.
No.
Maybe they're behind Coinbase, but they're either number two or number three. And that's something that people don't really talk about with Mara. They don't talk about how they've moved into high performance computing, um, which
Yeah.
is interesting because another stock that we recommend a Microcap Millionaire is Bit Digital BTBT, and they spun out a company called White Fiber, um, which is WYFI. Ooh, BitD's looking good now,
Looks
finally.
that's a nice chart. I was gonna say, like, hold on, I don't want to cut you off, but that's a really nice.
And I've talked to this one about the microcap subscribers where I've had to be very honest with them about where I'm very, very upset with their CEO because they've been diluting shares to buy Ethereum. And they
Yeah.
spun out a quarter of White Fiber, their high performance computing subsidiary, without giving any fucking shares to shareholders. Excuse my language. But it's just unacceptable because you cannot treat shareholders this way. But I've also been honest with them where it's just like in this macro cycle with crypto going up, we're going to see this thing probably go up one, two, maybe even a few bucks. Um, but maybe pull up WYFI.
WYFI.
Yeah.
It's like Wi-Fi, but whoa.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the high performance computing company that Bit Digital just spun off, and look what this thing's done. It's up
Yeah.
70% from its recent lows, and they just spun this off in August, I think. So you can kind of see what's happened. So I mean, this is now, I think, one of the best pure play high performance computing companies, and it's so weird because like every major crypto miner has created a second business within their business doing high performance computing. And so it's so funny to me watching Bit Digital spin part of this one off,
Hmm.
and it's going nuts. So it's like it's so funny, Greg, because like you take it as its own thing and the market likes it, but you combine it with this thing that the market doesn't like, which is crypto mining. So that makes me think that like, oh, when people finally decide they like the miners, it will be like adding gasoline to an already lit fire because it has this other thing, these high performance computing businesses inside of them. That's basically going to be like a 1-2 punch with these stocks. And then with Bitcoin, or excuse me, with Mara being having its Bitcoin treasury, one of the largest in the world, it's going to be like a 1-2-3 punch. So Mara's going to do something crazy soon in the next 3 to 6 months, maybe much sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't argue with that. The environment is ripe for this type of stuff. The SPACs are back. And the
Yeah.
spin-offs and everything in between, right?
Yeah.
It feels like it almost feels like a rerun, which is nice. I mean, like, like, um, I think it's entirely possible that like we're back in like the COVID go-go times this winter. Maybe we'll see some crazy gamma squeezes and everything in between. I mean, like I'm trying to get mentally prepared for it because I think it's important to kind of adjust your risk outlook. I always talk about like how I trade differently when the market's not as favorable. You kind of got to pull back a little bit. You got to expand your time horizons. You got to look for the outperforming sectors and all that. But when when it's go time, that's when you really have to be on your game, right? And just grab them
Yeah.
while they're popping off. And I feel like we're getting into that now. And even though, and I know I've been a broken record about this, even though I think we might get a little bit of a reset into October and all that, just a little gut check, keep us honest, maybe scare some folks since everything has been nice and smooth. After that, I think it's game on, and I think that the numbers say so, and the seasonality says so, and all the historical data going back, looking at years that have performed like this. It just feels like we're gonna be in trading paradise come November, December, and just be ready for it.
I think so. And you brought up SPACs. An interesting SPAC that I was just looking at since you brought that up is DJT, the one and only
Oh,
DJT.
yes, of course.
But actually, like, and I'm not recommending this, but look
Right.
at this chart, maybe just zoom out a little bit. Like that's flatlining.
Yeah.
It's kind of based, and they also have a big. The reason I brought it up is because they're number 8 in Bitcoin treasuries. They have 15,000 Bitcoin. So it's like almost half of its market cap's backed by Bitcoin, and
Does that count as a fundamental backstop? I think it
I
does.
mean, yeah, I I don't know. And again, not recommending this, but like it's these kind of setups we're seeing on the market where like it looks like the bottom is probably in on this one. And I don't know if it just keeps going flat or if this one could just shoot up because it becomes a meme stock.
Hmm.
But this is the kind of potential we're seeing. So actually, I think it's a good idea to kind of start looking at some old SPACs that
Yeah.
have just gotten beaten to hell and put a little bit of money behind them.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a bad idea. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's 12:01. I know we started a couple minutes late, and I apologize for the technical difficulties, but I think that's a great note to end on today. A lot of exciting things happening in the market. Lots of exciting stuff happening over with Mr. 10X, my man Chris Cimorelli here. Thanks for joining me, Chris. I really appreciate your insight as always. We always have a lot of fun
Yeah.
talking about stocks and alerting me to some tickers I'm not familiar with to put on my short list. Wi-Fi with a Y is definitely on it now. So
Yes.
appreciate it. All right, take care, everybody.
All right. Thanks, y'all.